Good afternoon and welcome to the on-record portion of the Rockbridge Report. I'm Morgan Holt. We are lucky today to be joined by all three superintendents in the Rockbridge area. Joining me right now is Dr. Dan Lyons of the Lexington City Schools, Dr. Rebecca Gates of the Buena Vista City Schools, and Mr. John Reynolds of the Rockbridge County Schools. Thank you all for joining us today.
My pleasure.
Dr. Lyons, we're going to start with you. Can you tell me a little bit about the role of the superintendent? What exactly do you do?
Well, I'm responsible for the day-to-day operations of both our schools. My role is probably a little different than most superintendents because we only have two schools and we only have a little over 600 students. So in addition to day-to-day operations, I work very closely with Mr. Reynolds to make sure our high school students are taken care of. And basically I see my job as to making sure the teachers have what they need so they can be successful.
Perfect. All right, Dr. Gates, how did you get involved with the school system?
As far as when I was hired?
Both. What made you want to be a superintendent? Were you a teacher beforehand? Tell me a little bit about your experience.
Oh yes, I was a teacher beforehand and my goal was to become a superintendent. So I basically worked my way up the administrative ladder and was pleased to have the opportunity to come to Buena Vista.
All right, Mr. Reynolds, what are your goals as a superintendent? What have you hoped to accomplish and have you been able to?
Well, I think our goal very consistently year after year is to send people, graduates from our school system out into the world and out into post-secondary education, certainly with the ability to compete with students all over the world at the very best universities, and also for those who are entering the workplace to make sure that they have the 21st century skills needed to be a successful transition into the world of work.
Okay, this next question is for all three of you. How satisfied are you right now with your different schools in your districts?
Well, I'm very pleased with ours. Even though we're small, our students do quite well. I feel they're prepared when they leave our middle school and go to the high school. And I think if you look at what we spend per student, we're really doing a great job with a little bit of money. So I'm very pleased. There are very few problems in our schools, and hopefully we'll be able to continue it for years to come.
What would you say are your strengths and your weaknesses right now?
I think our strengths are our academic performance. Our kids do very well. I think we do a great job of meeting the needs of the majority of our students. I think our weaknesses, we probably still have a long way to go with our facilities. We completed renovation with one, and we have our elementary school that needs a lot of work.
Okay, Dr. Gates?
Well, I'm very pleased where our school system is and how far it's come. Our graduation rate is above the state average, 89%. 80% of last year's senior class went to post-secondary education. We've added AP classes. We participate in the governor's school. So I'm very pleased, and we have an extremely dedicated staff. As far as our strengths, again, the academic program, the staff, the support of the community. The school system is definitely the pride of Buena Vista. Weaknesses are our financial challenges. We definitely need to find some way to bring in some more revenues.
Mr. Reynolds.
Sure, and I'm also very pleased and proud of our school system also. We've just completed third year in a row of being fully accredited by state standards, which is not something that Rockbridge County Schools had accomplished in the 6 years prior to that. As Dr. Lyons has noted, we share students, and I do feel very good about the product that we're putting out. And I think our strength also are our staff, our building leadership in our schools. And Dr. Gates is certainly exactly right. We all face the challenge of maintaining a quality program with less resources. And I think we in Rockbridge County have done a nice job with that. We have, we use the word, I guess, merger. Some people would say consolidate, some people would say downsize, and we've had to do that to be able to give people compensation and benefits and things like that, and not to cut academic programs for students. It's also a painful task too sometimes.
How do you think that your different districts differ from each other? I know there is some overlap with the Lexington City Schools and the Rockbridge County Schools, but as far as the Buena Vista schools versus Rockbridge County schools, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, we differ because we're just so small, and everyone has to wear so many hats. We fill out the same number of reports. We have the same programs. Even though we send our students to Rockbridge County High School, we still have to report and keep up with them. We have to be a jack of all trades and a master of none, basically, because we have, I have no assistant, I have no financial person. Our administrative staff is a superintendent, 2 principals, and a director of special education, and that's just part of her job. So that would be the big difference. I think we all deal with similar type students. We all face financial problems. The difference is where $100,000 would be huge for us. It would probably be the equivalent of maybe $500,000 for the county, or a couple $100,000 for Buena Vista. So while we differ in size, I think we're very similar, but we all face the same problems.
Yes. I would say size is one of the largest differences between Buena Vista schools and Rockbridge County. I mean, our high school senior classes are 70 and 80 kids. And because of that, the staff can really connect with the students individually. So definitely the size of the school systems, I think, would be really the only difference.
I certainly would agree with that, and the fact that we are larger, we maybe do have a little more diversity along the needs to respond to those students that all 3 of us do about those students who are going to post-secondary education. We live in an area, all of us have colleges and universities in our communities, and so that's an influence and one we have to respond to. In Rockbridge County, we also have populations of families who have not gone to post-secondary education and maybe not even graduated from high school, and so that presents another set of needs by students. And so, if anything, Rockbridge County may be a little more diverse, but as Rebecca and Dan said, it's because of the size.
So because it is so similar, as it seems like, do you find working well together, coming to each other for advice, collaborating on ideas? Have you leaned on each other for help?
Well, I think we always lean on somebody when times get desperate, and I think the economic situation that all of us are facing, we're going to have to work with each other even more. I mean, I think you can see the trend in student population shifting, and I don't think it's because families are relocating to new homes. I think families are relocating with other families. So, we're swapping students back and forth, and a lot of times it's temporary. So, while we probably don't work with each other every day, I foresee us having to work with each other down the road.
I find it comforting to know that if I run into a situation, I can call either of these 2 guys and just say, what do you think? Have you dealt with this before? Any advice that you can give me? I think all 3 of us are comfortable doing that. I would hope that in the future we can work closer together as far as pulling some resources together. I know right now we're really trying to figure out a way to have an alternative ed program. And I'm hoping that down the road we can at least have some discussions on how to do that together.
And you always do the opposite of our advice, don't you? I hope, Rebecca.
What? No.
No. But I think too, Morgan, that the economic situation that every school district faces, not just ours, is forcing people to become closer together, to find ways to share and to be efficient in their operation. The times of luxury, I think, in public school education probably have gone by the wayside.
Moving on to standards-based reform. No Child Left Behind requires that all students be proficient in math and reading by 2014. What are y'all's thoughts on that? Do you think that is realistic for your school divisions? What do you think?
I don't think it's realistic for anybody, but that doesn't mean we're not going to try to accomplish it. Show me any program where you have 100% success. I mean, I don't think people come to W&L and 100% of the students graduate 4 years later. I don't think you go to any individual class where everyone passes. So while the conception of doing it is admirable, I just don't think it's a very practical.
I think a positive of it, though, was when we did disaggregate scores and showed how different groups were performing. I think that was a real eye-opener to educators rather than always looking at the average score and everything put together. I experienced that personally with the school board in my former position. Until I put those numbers up there like that, people didn't have any idea. I think we should always be striving for 100%. But I think a growth model would be much more appropriate to look at how students are growing academically rather than here's the benchmark. If you don't make it, you're a failure.
Yeah, standards-based education, it certainly had its place and has had its place. I think in many cases it's focused instruction to a degree, but I very much agree with Dan and about at what point in time is it used up its usefulness, if you will. The amount of time that's taken away from instruction just to test, just to practice test. The stress that comes on teachers when they all see those scores being reported and those kind of things. It's sort of a balancing act, and I think maybe I think probably reform is on its way in the near future.
Yeah, I would think it would be more practical in a vocational setting. I mean, you want your mechanics to be 100% proficient when they're doing your brakes, and your electricians be 100% proficient. But I don't think you can transfer that over to the academic side, even though you can strive for it.
And one of the interesting ideas that the Superintendents Association has brought forward to the Department of Ed is to give the SOL test at the beginning of the year, so the teachers feel that they can go beyond those minimum standards without always worrying the entire year, am I covering the material and are they ready for the test? I think that's an interesting idea.
Absolutely. Do you think that it limits the curriculum now, having to, in a way, teach to these SOL tests and make sure that students meet AYPs? Do you think that that is hindering the students' educational abilities?
I think it goes back to, again, the teachers are afraid to step away from the SOLs because of the testing coming up. But it is supposed to be the minimum curriculum.
As long as we don't test too much. I mean, we're just already testing too much, and I think, you know, teachers are the worst students. They want to be 100% successful. So if you're testing at the end and they know what they're going to be testing on, you know, they're not real confident, and they're going to do everything they can to keep drilling those things into the kids. So it probably does take away from going beyond the minimum for some.
On that note, since No Child Left Behind can lead to school choice, what is school choice like in your different districts? How easily can parents maneuver within the district if they need to get out of the district? Could you talk about that a little bit?
Ours, there's no choice.
It's true.
You either come or go to Rockbridge County.
But I did experience that in my former position, because we did have a school that went into improvement. And it went beyond just the county. People from other counties could have their kids attend other neighboring school systems, not just a school within our school system, but outside. And actually we put it out there and parents didn't take advantage of it. They didn't want their kids to go to another county, no matter what was going on in the school.
Why do you think that is?
Because of the neighborhood connection, the loyalty and the pride in a neighborhood school. They were more interested in trying to get improvement there as compared to just sending their student off to another place.
And I think parents do trust our schools and the community school, as Rebecca said. And I think they're also certainly aware that there are a lot of factors that go into success on the test, and it's not just at the school.
And it really could be adverse too, because most of the good students, they have parents that care and they're going to do what's best for them. If they think they can put them in a better school, they're more likely to than the other student who doesn't have that support at home. They're going to leave them as a matter of convenience where they are. So you could take a school that's close, and all of a sudden it could go from almost to very bad in a short period of time.
How do you feel that your different districts have changed in the time that you've been superintendent, whether from you or not from you?
Well, we've continued our academic success, and that's a good thing. And we've started renovating our buildings, and we've completed one, have one to go, and we have the continued support of our communities and our funding bodies. So that's been a big change.
I would say raising the academic standards, not only from what we've done, but it just happened to be at the same time the factories were closing in Buena Vista. So the old pattern of you graduated from high school and went and worked in a plant and made a half-decent salary suddenly wasn't an option. So that helped us raise the bar with academics for post-secondary ed because the jobs aren't there.
Well, in my time, Morgan, I think biggest change is that we've gone from 3 high schools to 1 high school. In my county, we've gone from 5 elementary schools to 4, and we're about to go from 2 middle schools to 1. And so that's a dramatic change, quite frankly, and driven not just for money, driven for the desire for improved academic programs too, I think.
So what's next on the agenda for the school systems? Do you have any issues that you really want to tackle? Where do we go from here?
Well, the biggest issue, I think, probably for all of us, is going to be future budgets. I think funding it continues to go down. We're getting less money than we were 5 years ago, and the populations are up, and our facilities need a tremendous amount of work. But the big thing is where we're going to get this funding from and be able to maintain our staffing.
Same thing, budgeting. We're even trying a virtual academy this year where kids from all over the state are assigned to our school system that we'll never see, but will be part of our accreditation with testing. But the purpose was to bring revenues in.
General Assembly is about ready to start, and we'll see the effects of the election on our funding.
Perfect. Well, I think that's all the time we have today, but thank you guys so much for being here.
Thank you.
And that's all. I'm Morgan Holt with the on-record portion of the Rockbridge Report.